Hi everyone, I'm Sarah and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing you my Tome Topple reading vlog slash book diary thing. So when I decided to do the Tome Topple readathon, I thought I was going to maybe do like a reading vlog or something, but I didn't feel reading vlogs weren't really speaking to me. I wasn't really doing a lot. I've been in quarantine for a long time, so it's not like I'm doing anything really fun or exciting. I'm just kind of sitting around my apartment. Every day kind of looks the same. So what I decided to do instead was do a kind of reading vlog slash book diary format for the books I read for the Tome Topple. And that's what this vlog video thing is going to end up being. The books that are talked about in this reading vlog are The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, The Tiger's Daughter by Arsenault Rivera, Tigana by Guy Gavriel Kay, and Elantris by Sanderson. I will try to cut out as many spoilers as I possibly can, so this will be a mostly spoiler-free reading vlog because I want this to be kind of as fun as possible for people who are interested in seeing what I did, what I liked, what I didn't like, all those different things. So without further ado, I'm gonna jump back in time to the start of the Tome Topple and show you guys my progress throughout the 2 weeks or so that we did this. So it's May 10th, technically the second day of Tome Topple, and I'm just about to officially kind of get going. So I just did a try chapter tag video to figure out which book I wanted to read because luckily for me, which I was not expecting, the 3 books that I reserved from my library as ebooks all were delivered within the last 2 days. So I had 3 books to choose from, which is great. And the 3 books were The Tiger's Daughter by Arsenault Rivera, The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, and then Tigana by Guy Gavriel Kay. I still have Robin Hobb and I still have Brandon Sanderson on my list of things to read this month, but I wanted to start with books that I rented from the library to be something fun and different to do. So after doing my try chapter tag, I ended up deciding that I'm going to start with The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, and I'm very excited about this book. I was drawn in very quickly to Rin as a character and the story and the world that she's in and the way that she's trying to escape. I'm very intrigued by it. My biggest concern about the Tome Topple is 1, I've been in a reading slump for a super long time, and 2, majority of the books that I'm likely going to read for it are going to be on my phone. That stresses me out and my eyes because I don't like not being able to see the progress I'm making. So I'll probably, we'll see how it goes, but I am excited to read this book. I'm excited to get started, so I will update you guys when I have something to update. Quick update. I just finished the reading sprints this morning on Twitter with Tome Topple. Because it's May 13th, and I'm just very intrigued by the way that the gods of this world work and how belief works and magic. I'm just super invested in this book. I'm so excited that I'm reading it. Like I'm so invested in this book. I'm so interested also in everything that's happening to Rin and everybody else. So I am excited to keep going. I'm gonna have to do some stuff throughout the rest of the day, but I'm gonna probably try to pop on for another round of reading sprints later tonight if I'm around / remember. But it's been super great so far. I'm loving this book. So it's Friday, May 15th. I just finished the hour-long sprint, reading sprint that we did on Twitter for Tome Topple, and I'm now on a page 250 of The Poppy War, and I'm loving this book. Like every time I think I get a handle on what is actually happening or what kind of story we're gonna get, it changes on me. And I actually really like that idea. I like that it kind of keeps changing, because like when I started the book, I thought it was going to be a whole book on just Rin's sort of training and how she becomes this shaman and how she learns to be a warrior at Sinigard, which I liked that idea. But then like the timeline jumps so much. Like in the first 100 pages of the book or so, it's a little bit more than that actually. Like the first 150 pages, like almost 3 years goes by in that amount of time. But it never feels like it's being dragged out or sped up in a way that makes you feel like, okay, this is clearly just the author trying to push through a timeline. Like, no, like it makes sense because ultimately her training at Syndergaard isn't really the story that R.F. Kuang wants to write. She wants to write about this new war that's happening and the like part that Rin plays in it, and it's just really good. I'm really interested in how this is going, like, and I'm really enjoying that every time I feel like I'm getting a solid handle on what's happening in the story, it kind of changes a little bit, and it's making these 500 plus pages just fly by. So I'm almost to the halfway point, and I'm just really enjoying this book, and I'm loving it so much. Well, the lighting's really bad in my living room, but what are you gonna do? So it's Sunday morning the 17th, and I finished The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang last night, and God, I love that book. I'm still thinking about it. I have a lot. I really liked it. Obviously, I love Rin. I've said that almost every update I've given about this book. I love her. I love her so much. It's just so interesting that it's never the way that we see it, and that our characters are blatantly facing like the lies and propaganda that they've been told, and how they're all handling it in very, very different ways. um I just find that very interesting. I like that there's no one that can really stand on moral high ground. It's this idea of everyone has a different viewpoint and what's going on. Everyone has a different way that they feel about it, and they don't know, and everyone thinks that they're right. And I find that very interesting, and the idea that you have to live with the choices that you make. It's very, very good. Obviously, massive, massive trigger warnings. Like, do a little bit of research beforehand, because there's a lot, and it is gruesome. Also, highly wouldn't recommend you reading this book right before you try to get some sleep, because oh man, I had a rough night of sleep last night because I could not stop thinking about what happened in this book. Um, but what are you gonna do? But anyway, but that all being said, I finished my first book for Tome Topple. Yay! And technically also counts for the Asian Readathon, so like double yay. And now I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. Because I have Tigana and the Tiger's Daughter. I also have Elantris to read, and I have to figure out what I want to read. I have the audiobook for Tigana, but I also wasn't like super drawn into the first chapter and a half that I read was it last week? And I have like 6 days left to the end of Tome Topple, and I'd like to get at least one more book read. So I don't know, because I'm not very good at listening to audiobooks. I find that I don't retain the information as much. So my fear is I will listen to all 24 hours of this audiobook, get to the end, and then be like, well, this was a book and I listened to it and it happened. And maybe I'll be able to remember a character's name or two, but I just don't know. Maybe I'll just put it on like in the back room when I'm cleaning and stuff and just kind of see how it feels, and then focus on trying to read the Tiger's Daughter or Elantris. Because like I remember being interested in the Tiger's Daughter when I did my tried chapter tag, but I haven't read anything for the Cosmere Along, and I haven't finished anything for the Elderling Along either. And I'm starting to feel like if I don't start that process, then I'm not going to be able to catch up at any time. Obviously, the overachiever in me is like, let's just read both of them in the next 6 days. It's fine. They're each over 500 pages. I think Elantris is like close to 600. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just starting to get out of my reading slump. So, I don't know. I still am working on Little Fires Everywhere. Like, there's a lot that I'm trying to figure out. So maybe what my plan is I'm going to listen to Tigana for a little bit right now, see how I feel about it, whether I want to continue listening to it or maybe just return it at the library and just kind of say it's not for me this time. So, updates. I listened to the prologue and the first chapter of Tigana on audiobook, and I really like the narrator's voice. It's very soothing, it's very nice. My problem is, I just don't really care about this story. So, I don't think I want to kind of, this sounds so bad, but like waste time on it since I don't particularly care about it too much. Especially since I have 2 other books that I am interested in reading, and I mean, not including 100 of the other books I have too. It's been a weird month, guys. So I think what I'm gonna do for the Tome Topple is I'm gonna stop listening to Tigana because I just don't feel like I have it in me right now. I'm just not that interested in it, to be honest. I think maybe if I had gotten the audiobook earlier, then maybe I could have started it and listened to, you know, a half hour or an hour or something. I mean, it would have to be longer than that, 24 hours. But, you know, an hour or 2 a day, then maybe it wouldn't feel so, like, overwhelming when I got to the end of it. I don't know and then I do have the ebook as well from the library. So I mean, I could read it, but I'm just not that interested in it right now. It's not really calling to me, and I'm considering I had such a rough reading patch before I read The Farm and The Poppy War. I just kind of don't want to find something that will stall that again. That's why I'm going to try The Tiger's Daughter today for a bit in a little while, and then I'm going to also try it, and then I might start Elantris tomorrow and sort of see which one I want to keep reading. I mean, because maybe I'll get really into The Tiger's Daughter and just kind of want to keep reading and get it, this sounds so bad, but get it done with. But maybe that's what I'll do. But we'll see. I'm going to go and make some lunch and then see how I feel. Okay, it is May 19th. Oof. Gotta get a move on if I'm gonna get more reading done. I just got through the second, I guess, chapter. It was like the first letter in this book. I don't know, like I'm interested. I think I'm more interested right now in the world building and the story that's happening throughout the world more than I am within these 2 characters. Shizuka, who is the Empress now, and then her friend Shefali, who is the Korin ruler, maybe? I'm not really sure if she's the ruler over there or she just grew up there. I mean, like I said, it's still the first chapter, pretty much. And, like, right now, my biggest complaint is in the letter from Shefali to Shizuka, she recounts what they were like when they were 5 years old, and neither one of them wrote like 5-year-olds. And it's a very minor thing. Like, it's really not a huge deal, especially since Shizuka specifically grew up in kind of the like royal court, and so I can understand why she would speak like much more formally and all these things, especially in a letter. So like I'm willing to suspend my disbelief about the way that these 2 children wrote to each other. But it did kind of take me out a little bit, and I'm honestly, I think it started too much with this idea that, oh, these 2 people really, really care about each other and they're really good friends and they're very important people to each other, which is good. But the problem is I don't really know what's actually happening in the world right now. So as much as I like that they're really good friends and they have this very long history and it's very interesting, I also just want to know more of what's going on around them. I'm going to try to read this a little bit more. There's some Tome Topple sprints going on right now, so I'm going to read for those. and sort of see how I feel at the end of this sprint session. And if I'm still not into it, I might swap over to Elantris or just keep kind of powering through, because I've only got like 4 days left to finish one of these books, because I would like to really get 2 books done for Tome Topple. So we shall see. So I'm 100 and some pages into the book now, and like, I don't hate it, but I also don't really love it. And I think the biggest problem is I'm 100 and some pages into the book and I still don't know what the story is. It's basically just been Shizuka reading these letters from Shefali, but like, oh my god, there is another freaking helicopter. I'm just gonna talk over him at this point or I'll never get this update done. And I think my biggest problem is, like, it's just like reading these letters about their background and their history together, which is like interesting, and I'm sure it'll be more interesting once the story actually starts. But like, if it is just letters from Shefali, then like, my biggest question is, why didn't it start? Like, then I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't hate the story so far. Like, I'm enjoying reading it because, like, it's it's an easy read for being a fantasy series, in the sense that, like, the world building we're getting is very interesting, and it's kind of a little bit more laid back and chill about everything, which I like. But I just wish that the story was starting. And like, I feel like it is in some respects, but also like, I'm like 120 pages into this 500 and some page book and the story still hasn't started. Like, and it's like kind of frustrating. But okay. So I finished The Tiger's Daughter. I don't know. Like, I didn't hate it, and I didn't love it. I just kind of felt like I was just kind of going through the motions with it, you know? And I don't know. Like, basically, I just kind of feel like what I was told this was going to be ended up not being it. It's like, I was expecting this like really epic fantasy of these 2 women killing demons and fighting and falling in love. And what it ended up being was basically a very long letter kind of detailing parts of their lives together, and like important moments between them. And I'm just kind of left being like, why? Like, I didn't love the letter format, because it was basically 95% of the book is a letter written by Shefali to Shizuka. And it's a letter that's super long that details every moment of their lives together, which was sweet, and I liked their romance to some degree. But it just felt weird. I think the letter also does like a massive disservice to Shizuka as a character, because I don't really like her at the end of the book, because like, I don't want to blame her, but kind of everything bad that has happened to Shefali has been Shizuka's fault, because she's been arrogant and she's been angry, and she kind of rushes into things like head first and doesn't think things through, and usually Shefali takes the brunt of it. And it was like really hard for me to be like, it's not that I needed her to like repent or anything, but it's really hard for me to see and understand when we're not really in her head. We're in her head for brief moments between parts of the letter, but like, that's it. And it's like not really enough for me to fully understand or appreciate like who she is as a character, because all we really know about her is from Shefali's point of view, and Shefali is super biased. Like she thinks Shizuka could do no wrong. She puts her on this massive pedestal, which is fine. I get it. You're in love and you think everyone's like, you want to think your partner's great. But it kind of got boring to me because I'm like, she has major flaws. Like, you can still love somebody and still see their flaws. Like, it's okay. And that didn't really happen. I mentioned earlier that like the time was a little weird. And like what I mean by that is it was all written in present tense. The letters were written in present tense. But they were detailing past events that happened to them, the two women, as children and younger. And so time didn't really matter the same way, but also the things they were doing, they felt a little too young. Like, they were 8 years old and killed a tiger, and I'm like, you were babies. And okay, maybe it's because they had some god and or demon in them and they had extra powers, that's fine. But then at 16 they went and killed the demon, and it's just like, I don't know, it just felt a little unbelievable at times. And maybe part of that was because the way that like the dialogue that was written also felt too old, and maybe that's just a product of Shefali writing these letters when she's 30 or whatever. So I don't actually know how old she is, but that idea. And then basically there just really wasn't a plot. I'm gonna read like the book blurb or description from Goodreads. This is The Tiger's Daughter by Kay Arsenault Rivera. Even gods can be slain. The Hokuren Empire has conquered every land within their bold reach, but failed to notice the lurking darkness festering within the people. Now their border walls begin to crumble, and villages fall to demons swarming out of the forests. Away on the Silver Steppes, the remaining tribes of nomadic Korin retreat and protect their own, having bartered a treaty with the Empire, exchanging inheritance through the dynasties. It is up to 2 young warriors raised together across borders since their prophesied birth to save the world from the encroaching demons. This is the story of an infamous Korin warrior, Basileia Shefali, a spoiled divine warrior empress, Oshizuka, and a power that can reach through time and space to save a land from a truly insidious evil. Like, that's what the blurb was for this book. But that's not the story that we got. What we got was a massive letter detailing their lives together and them falling in love and a couple of random adventures. And like, the thing that's so frustrating is that story sounds really cool, and some of the things that they didn't touch on also sound really cool. In Shizuka, she was the emperor's niece and he had no heirs, and somehow don't see it, she becomes the empress and has decided that he's living out his life in exile of some sort. Except it's not exile, but it's like he's just living on the side. And I'm like, I would have loved to have seen how she seized power, because he didn't seem like the type to give it up willingly. That would have been an interesting story. I don't know, I just feel like there was a lot of potential for this story, but it just felt like a lot of info dumping and a lot of just like nothing. Like, I kind of kept waiting for the plot to turn up, but the plot didn't really happen until the last like 70 pages, where you finally get to the whole okay, so major spoilers ahead, but basically Shizuka comes up with the idea that her and Shefali are going to marry, because then her uncle can't kill Shefali because they're of the same blood now. And that's when he decides to basically banish Shefali and say she can't come back until she finds this phoenix feather. And that's basically when the plot started. And then I was like, oh, are they setting all of this up to be Shefali's journey to find this phoenix feather? But no, then that's over too. And it's like, I feel like all the really interesting stuff happens completely off the page. Like, I almost feel a little tricked into reading this, in the sense that like what I was told this wasn't what it ended up being. And like, I didn't dislike it. Like, I liked the story, I really liked the world, and I liked the characters to some degree. but I just feel let down, and I feel kind of tricked, and like I was played and like I was kind of played to read this, because it really wasn't what the blurb said it was. It wasn't about them hunting demons or doing anything with the Empire. It was just a bunch of random moments, and the two coolest things happened off screen or off page. As much as I liked the romance, it was hard for me to really get on board because it was so one-sided, because it was all from Shefali's point of view, because it was all her letters. And so I personally wanted to see more of Shizuka's point of view and like her stuff too. And like, as much as she was very vocal in her feelings in the letters and stuff from what Shefali could remember, it just felt kind of info dumpy, and like it was just setting up this whole, I honestly, to be totally honest, I don't even know what it set up. I don't know how this story continues, because it doesn't matter. Like, that's like the ultimate end goal, takeaway I have from this book, is that like nothing really matters at the end of it. It's just kind of over, and that's fine, but it is weird. Like I said, I just feel a little tricked into reading this, thinking that there was going to be some sort of plot, and there really just wasn't. And like, it's fine if there was no plot, but like, even the romance aspect of it like wasn't really a plot either. It's just Shefali admitting in letters that she's loved Shizuka since they were children, since they were 3 years old. Shizuka tried to kill Shefali, I guess. This book just has no plot, and I'm just like sitting here wondering like why there was no real plot. And maybe it's just me, and maybe I'm the one that's off here for wanting a little bit more plot in this book, but I wanted to know that I was reading for a reason. And if the reason was just to get to know these two characters through purely Shefali's point of view, that's fine. And like, if it was all to set up this whole idea, like, I honestly thought when I got to the end of the letter and the whole thing about Shefali said that she's riding out tomorrow to go look for this phoenix feather, if that was the end of the book, and the book was basically a whole setup as to why Shefali was going on this quest to find a phoenix feather, and that's what the second book was, I would still feel incredibly let down, but at least I would know where this book is going, or this series is going. But ultimately, I don't know, and so I don't particularly care. Okay, so after reading The Tiger's Daughter, I have now completed 2 official tomes for the Tome Topple, which is really good. I'm super proud of that. And so what my plans are going forward for the next 2 days is I'm going to actually start Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. I wanted to read this for the Cosmere Along. I'm super behind on this read along, but that's fine. And it is a book that is like 600 and how many pages is this book? This book 615 pages is Elantris. It might be a little bit too much for me to read in 2 days, but maybe I'll get like really into it and want to just keep reading tomorrow and the next day. But my plans are, even if I don't finish it by the end of the 22nd, at least I'll have made some decent progress to hopefully finish it by the end of this month. But yeah, it would be awesome to get this read and have 3 completed tomes for the Tome Topple. But I'm pretty happy with my progress so far, considering I started in a massive slump and I've already read over like 1,400 pages this month. So I feel like even though I'm not reading a lot of books, I'm reading a lot of pages, so that's pretty good. Okay, so I'm finally ready to start Elantris. Every time somebody finished it or like talks about it, they talk about how much they loved this book. So I'm really excited to get into it and see how I feel about it. I'm actually trying to finish it for Tome Topple, which I have 2 days to finish this, so I don't know if it's going to work out. It might if I get really sucked into it and really enjoy it, but we'll see. But I am excited to kind of dive in, see how it goes, and just kind of start to dip my toes into this world. So I am pretty excited. Okay, so I'm about 100 pages into Elantris, and I'm still like loving this world. I'm loving the information we're learning about Elantris and the magic that they had, the Aeons. And And I also really, and like the feeling of Kay as a city, it kind of feels almost sci-fi-esque, in that feeling that like everything that they talk about kind of feels more advanced than I was expecting. And I really like that feeling of it. I like, because I feel like they're able to talk about like these quote unquote like modern ideas of revolt and revolution, and how Kay has kind of gone backwards in a sense of like going back to like a feudal system. Um, I'm just really intrigued by this. I'm just really invested in where this is going. I'm really, really enjoying it, and I'm trying not to worry about whether or not I'll finish it by tomorrow. My thoughts are, even if I don't finish it by tomorrow, which would be the 22nd, which ends Tome Topple, I'm still making progress. I'm not. My whole thoughts on going forward for this book is I'm going to try to read a little bit more today yet, because I'm only 100 pages in. If I did have it in me to read 200 pages today, then I would feel like I'm fine for tomorrow, but I just don't know if I have the strength to read that much. But I would like to make some more progress today, and then I'll probably read a bit tomorrow. But my goal going forward is I'm not going to stress about finishing it by tomorrow night. And because I don't need to count this one for the Tome Topple, I just need to make some sort of progress. And that's kind of where I'm at, where I'm just going to read a little bit more tonight probably, and I'm going to try to read I'm going to try to read tomorrow a bit. I've got things to do though too, so I can't just spend the whole day reading as much as I might want to. I should at least make enough progress that I should finish Elantris by Sunday, is kind of where I'm going with this goal. And I think for me that's doable. So, some updates for you. I have made it to page 300. Yay! Bad news is, it is now the afternoon on May 22nd, which means I have to read over 300 pages before midnight. And theoretically, I know that I could do it. Like, I could read that much if I do nothing but read. My problem is, I am already kind of tired. I'm already kind of tired, and I also don't know if I want to spend the entire rest of the day just sitting around and reading. Like, I have some projects I'm working on, I've got some spring cleaning stuff I'm doing, so this is all to say, I don't know if I'm going to complete this book in time for the end of Tome Topple. I just am loving this book so much. There goes my air conditioning. I am just really loving this book. I am loving all the ways everything's weaved together. I am just enjoying it so much. And I am just so in love with this premise. But I've got like 300 pages left. Hopefully I'll be able to make a lot of progress today, and maybe I will be able to finish by midnight. Who knows? Never say never, but I do have quite a few things I have to get done before I can start reading again, so we shall see. Okay. I finished part 1. Why do I love these people so much? Weirdly, I want them all to succeed, and unfortunately they all can't succeed because they all have different goals. And I'm so worried. I'm so worried. I want them all to be okay. I care about them all so much. I just love them. I just love them so much. Okay, back to reading. I'm feeling good about my progress because I've got like 170 pages left, and it's like after 9, but I feel like I can get this done by midnight, or at the very least, close to midnight. I did make a cup of coffee because it's like 9 o'clock now, so I've got a little bit more time to finish, but I made a cup of coffee, but just gonna keep reading for as long as I can until my brain physically stops functioning or I fall asleep. Right here in this chair. That's why I'm not moving to my bed yet, because I know that as soon as I lay down, I will likely fall asleep. Good morning, everyone. It is, oh my god, it's only 8 a.m. I thought it was much later. It's fine. I actually did finish Elantris last night. I finished it at like 12:30, but I'm gonna still count it as a win because a half hour in the grand scheme of things is fine. Wow. This book was really good. Like, really good. I just have so many thoughts. I'm trying to piece it together in my brain. The only thing I have mixed feelings about was Hrathen and his ending. I loved this book so much. I would highly, highly recommend it. I do have quite a few like stickies in my book, moments and parts that I really liked. So I think I'm just like, this book was so good. I think the next time I read it, because I already know I'm going to reread it at some point, I'm going to read it obviously much more slowly than in 2.5 days. I also want to kind of annotate it a bit because I really, really loved this book. I loved the world building. I really loved the characters. I liked that they were all very unique and they had flaws and goals, and I absolutely loved this book. It was so good. I'm so glad that I read it in general, and I'm super happy that I was able to finish it for Tome Topple. So that's great. I am can finish my coffee and kind of wake up a bit, and then I'll do like a wrap up for my Tome Topple reading vlog thing. But all right, so woken up a bit, got some sort of thoughts in order for this like Tome Topple reading vlog book diary thing that I decided to do. But now that I've finished it, I want to kind of give my final thoughts on the Tome Topple and the progress I made and things like that. So I loved this. I had so much fun. It came at a great time for me, and I was lucky enough to have read 2 amazing 5-star reads for me and one that was a 3-star. But I mean, you can't win them all. So the first book I read was The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, and I will likely give this book 5 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved the world building. I loved the characters. I liked the realistic feeling of this fantasy novel, which sometimes fantasies don't totally feel as realistic as I might like them to because they are fantastical by their very nature. But the reason I think this one felt so real and grounded is just purely because of the characters. The characters were fantastic and I loved them. I am incredibly excited to see where this series goes in the future, and I will likely be reading the sequel relatively soon. I can't imagine that I would put that off for too long just because I loved it so much. So the 2 prompts that The Poppy War fulfills for me were the tome written by or featuring an Asian American or Pacific Islander, and also to read an adult tome. And then I read The Tiger's Daughter by Arsenault Rivera, and that book fulfilled the prompt to read a book that was part of a series and also to just read 1 tome. I chose those 2 prompts for this book. Elantris by Brandon Sanderson, I chose that book fulfills the read a book that was been on your TBR the longest, and also to read a standalone. Now, I don't know if this, and that might be controversial to some people. I've heard rumors and stuff that he's going to continue in the Elantris series, and so since I don't know anything about the sequels or if they're existing or how they're existing or in what context, I'm considering this a tome that is a standalone. With those 3 tomes read, I ended up fulfilling 6 of the 9 prompts, so that basically means I became a scholar this round. That was, to me, that's like really impressive because I was in such a massive reading slump, and I really buckled down in the last 5 days, read 2 of the tomes, which I still am like, why did I do that to myself? So that's the progress I made on the Tome Topple. Those are the prompts I fulfilled, the books I read. I just want to thank Sam from Thoughts on Tomes for putting this together and kind of organizing this idea. It's a very chill, very laid back readathon, which sounds like it shouldn't be because we're reading books that are over 500 pages. but it is very chill, it's very relaxed, it's very much a you go at your own pace, you kind of do what you want. There were tons of reading sprints happening on Twitter that I participated in, and it was just a lot of fun. I highly recommend people to consider it for the next time it comes around if there's any tomes you want to tackle. It was just a great experience, and I'm so thankful that I was able to be a part of it. Feel free to drop in the comments below, tell me what books you read, how many you completed, if you're planning on doing the Tome Topple again, what challenges you faced. I will likely have a spoiler vlog version of the Poppy War and Elantris because I ended up having just so many thoughts as I was going for those two books that I had to cut out like a half hour of footage on each of them. So I think I'm going to put together like reading vlogs or book diaries for those two books that will be full of spoilers for anyone who might be interested in that, because I just really enjoyed those two books a lot. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please feel free to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it or you read or you watched all the way through, and I will talk to you guys soon.